Honestly, I'd rather invite the neighbor's dog than my brother, my sister told her husband on the eve of the wedding. I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding. And no, I don't mean that in a poetic, figurative, they forgot to ask me to give a speech kind of way. I mean it literally. But me? Nothing. No call. No card. Not even a text. I didn't believe it at first. I thought maybe the invite got lost in the mail or was sitting in some USPS bin, wedged between coupon booklets and real estate flyers. I even checked the mail a second time that morning, shaking the empty box like something would materialize. Still nothing. That morning was a Friday, just like any other. I always brought my mom coffee before work. It started about 5 years ago when she got sick for a while and couldn't leave the house. I kept it going even after she recovered. Routine, comfort, call it what you want, but I never missed a Friday. I walked in without knocking, like always. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and lemon cleaner. She was at the stove, stirring oatmeal, her back to me. "Morning," I said, placing her usual half CAF, 2 creams, on the counter. She turned slightly, smiled, then frowned. "You look tired." "Didn't sleep much," I said. I hesitated, then asked as casually as I could, "Did the wedding invites go out?" She blinked at me. "Oh, they did last week." "Why?" "I didn't get one." She turned off the burner. The silence stretched. "I'm sure it was just a mistake," she said finally. "You were absolutely supposed to get one." Something in her voice faltered, just a fraction. And maybe that would have been the end of it. Maybe I would have accepted the explanation, except, an hour later, I got the text. It was a message from my sister, Celia. Meant for someone else, accidentally sent to the family group chat. To be honest, I'd rather invite the neighbor's dog than my brother. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed "got it." Simple. Cold. Accurate. And then I did what no one expected me to do. I opened my banking app. Celia didn't just plan this wedding with Pinterest boards and mood lighting. She planned it with my money. $14,600 in change, wired in parts over the past year. Sometimes with a reason, I need help with the deposit on the venue, and sometimes with a promise, I'll pay you back when things settle. I never expected the money back. I wasn't naive. I helped because she was my sister. Because family was supposed to mean something. Turns out, to her, it meant bank. The florist, I paid the down payment. The DJ, my card was on file. The dress, I paid half. The venue, I wired the initial retainer. The cake, she said she'd handle it, then sent me a Venmo request with 3 emojis and no explanation. And yet, I wasn't invited. So I froze the accounts. Literally. The wedding fund was mine. Set up under my name. A shared vault for managing vendor payments. She asked me to be the financial point person because I was so organized. So I flagged the florist's invoice. I canceled the catering payment. I put a hold on the DJ transaction. I called the venue and reported a breach of agreement. Then I spent the rest of the afternoon scanning receipts, invoices, email threads. I built a folder, digital and physical. Everything from the first transfer to the last passive-aggressive thank you note she'd sent. By evening, I was no longer asking why I wasn't invited. I was preparing my answer to the question they hadn't thought I'd ask: what happens when the guy who paid for the wedding decides not to fund the fairy tale? I'll admit something here. I wasn't always the easiest brother. I was 7 when Celia was born, and from the start, I was expected to look out for her. That turned into cover for her by the time we were teenagers. She got caught skipping class? I said she was with me. She forgot her part of the rent during college? I paid it. When she moved back home for a few weeks that turned into a year, I helped cover groceries and the utility bills without saying a word. So maybe she thought this was normal. Maybe everyone did. Gavin always comes through, they'd say. And I did. Until I didn't. The night after I froze the payments, I got a message from her fiancé, Marcus. We hadn't talked much, he always kept a polite distance, like I was more of a sponsor than a future brother-in-law. His message was short. Hey man. Just wanted to say thanks for helping out with the wedding. I heard you were taking care of the cake too. That's really generous. I read it 3 times. Then I sent a single sentence in return: you should talk to Celia. 15 minutes later, the group chat blew up. That's when the truth started unraveling. I'll pause here and ask you this. What do you do when you realize you've been the only one telling the truth? That the people closest to you have rewritten your role from pillar to placeholder? You prepare your side of the story. Because sometimes, justice doesn't knock. You have to let it in. The group chat exploded at 9:17 p.m. Celia sent a wall of messages first, then deleted half of them. Screenshots confirm what texts try to erase, so I saved everything. First came. Seriously? You're blowing this out of proportion. Then. You said you didn't even care about being part of the ceremony. And finally. We were going to tell you. We just didn't want drama. I didn't respond. Because that was the drama. I wasn't excluded because I forgot to RSVP. I was excluded because I didn't fit the version of the story Celia wanted to tell at her wedding. In her version, she did it all on her own. In mine, she had help, structured, financial, unwavering help. The kind that signs contracts and covers gaps when vendors threaten to pull out. The worst part? I didn't need to dig to find the truth. It was all right there, just behind their carefully curated social front. A week earlier, I had received a voice memo from Celia. Gav, you're a lifesaver. Seriously. Marcus has no idea how much you're doing behind the scenes, and honestly, let's keep it that way, okay? It's more romantic if he thinks we're just pulling it all off together. I played it again after the group chat fell quiet. Then I played it a third time, this time while watching the message about the dog replay on the screen. To be honest, I'd rather invite the neighbor's dog than my brother. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. Anger burns fast, then cools. What I felt was deeper. It was clarity. Cold. Measured. And I knew exactly what to do with it. The wedding rehearsal was scheduled for Saturday evening at a country estate just outside the city, one of those rustic luxury venues with reclaimed barnwood and Edison lights strung like webs across the rafters. I had paid for the deposit on that venue. And no one thought I'd show up. I parked in the gravel lot just before 6 p.m., wearing the same navy suit I wore to job interviews. It wasn't a protest outfit. It was armor. I wasn't on the guest list. But the venue coordinator recognized me. She came up to me near the fountain with hesitation. Mr. Avery? I saw your name on the original deposit. Are you here with the party? I'm here, I said. And I need to speak before the slideshow. Inside, the barn looked exactly like the pictures Celia had shared on social media. Vintage plates. Hanging glass terrariums. Lavender at every table. The DJ was playing light instrumental versions of pop songs. Someone clinked a glass for a speech. Laughter rose and fell like a tide. Then I walked in. Heads turned. There were a few whispers, a few stares. Celia froze mid-laugh. She turned her body away slightly, like she thought she could block me with posture alone. Gavin, she said, approaching with a tight smile. Now's really not the time. I agree, I said calmly. The time was 3 weeks ago when the invitations went out. She opened her mouth, closed it again. I moved past her toward the DJ, handed him a flash drive, and said, just this once. Right after the next song. He nodded. He looked more curious than nervous. Then I walked to the center of the room and waited. When the music faded and the lights dimmed slightly, the projector flickered to life. The first slide was simple. Every wedding has a story. Here's the one you didn't hear. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Slide 2, screenshots of every payment I made over the past year. Venue deposit, $4,000. Photographer down payment, $1,800. Cake order, $1,250. DJ booking, $750. Dress contribution, $3,500. Total, $14,646.97. Each item marked with my bank statement, the date, and the transaction ID. I didn't say a word. The room said it for me. Slide 3, group chat excerpts. The one with the dog reference. The bridesmaid laughing about it. Then her voice memo. Celia, calling me a lifesaver and asking to keep it all a secret from Marcus. When her voice filled the barn, something shifted. Someone at the back muttered, "Oh no." Another whispered, "Is this real?" Yes. It was very real. My father stood first. He didn't raise his voice. That was never his style. But his disappointment was loud. "Gavin," he said slowly, "what are you trying to prove?" I turned and looked at him. "That truth has a cost," I said. "And I'm done paying for everyone else's." He stared at me for a long second. Then sat back down. And then, Marcus stood. He walked slowly toward the center, eyes not on me, but on Celia. "You told me your parents helped," he said. She didn't answer. "You said Gavin didn't want to be part of it," he added. Still silence. Then he looked at me. "Did you pay for all this?" I nodded once. "Almost all." He turned back to Celia. "Why?" Her eyes welled. Not with guilt. With frustration. Because her story was unraveling and someone else was holding the thread. Marcus took off his ring. He placed it on the nearest table, between a floral centerpiece and a stack of folded name cards. "I don't know what's true anymore," he said. "But I know I don't want to find out at a wedding I didn't really plan." Then he left. 5 bridesmaids followed him. One of the groomsmen sat down hard, like the air had been knocked out of him. And just like that, the rehearsal dinner ended. I walked out through the same barn doors I'd entered. My steps were quiet. My hands were steady. Behind me, I heard Celia start to cry. Not the kind of crying that comes from heartbreak. The kind that comes when the script doesn't go your way. The walk to my car was surreal. There was no shouting. No one ran after me. No attempt at dramatic reconciliation. Just the sound of gravel under my shoes and the wind rattling the barn's wooden shutters. I sat in my car for a long time without starting the engine. My phone buzzed twice, once from an unknown number, once from Mom. I didn't check either. Not yet. I just sat there, hands on the wheel, letting the silence settle. I had always imagined that finally standing up for myself would feel like adrenaline, like bursting through a wall. But it didn't. It felt like weight slipping off my shoulders. Like walking out of a house I didn't know I'd been locked inside. I didn't go home right away. I drove around for nearly an hour. No music. Just the hum of the road and the steady beat of my thoughts catching up to the moment. By the time I parked outside my apartment, I felt strangely okay. Not happy. Not vindicated. But okay. The next morning, my phone had 47 notifications. 5 missed calls from Mom. 2 from Dad. 1 from Celia, left at 2:03 a.m. The rest? Messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. A childhood friend messaged. "Just saw the video someone posted. Proud of you for saying what needed to be said." A former coworker I hadn't spoken to in 5 years sent. "Your sister's wedding was built on your back. You did the right thing." One message came from a vendor I didn't even remember hiring. "I refunded your last invoice. I don't want any part of something built on lies. Wishing you peace." I didn't reply to any of them. Not yet. Celia's voicemail was short. Her voice cracked halfway through. "You humiliated me, Gavin. In front of everyone. That was supposed to be my day." She didn't apologize. She didn't deny anything, either. Just repeated that phrase again, "my day." As if I'd stolen it. As if her wedding was a sacred rite, not a $15,000 project built on borrowed trust. That afternoon, I pulled out the folder I'd built, the one with all the receipts, messages, voice memos. I added the responses from the group chat, the missed calls, the screenshots of Celia's deleted Instagram stories, where she called me toxic and vindictive. And then I did something I'd thought about doing for years. I turned it into a document, clean, chronological, undeniable. Then I posted it. No hashtags. No captions. Just the truth, in order. I made the post visible to friends, family, and anyone they might share it with. Then I turned off my phone and went for a walk. By the time I got back, it had over 6,000 views. People were resharing it with comments like, "This is why people go no contact with family. Sometimes the villain is the person who always smiled and stayed quiet. More people need to see what financial abuse looks like in real time." I hadn't expected it to resonate so broadly. But maybe I should have. Maybe a lot of people have been the helper. The fixer. The quiet one who keeps the lights on without being seen. And maybe they were all just waiting for someone else to go first. The next week was quiet. Quieter than it had been in years. No family texts. No surprise calls. No casual requests for a small favor. I didn't know if they were angry, embarrassed, or just regrouping. But for the first time in my life, their silence felt like freedom. I moved through my days differently. Woke up without dread. Drank coffee without thinking of driving to my parents' house. Went to work without worrying about an unexpected Venmo request. It was like my world had expanded by shrinking. I had less contact with people, but more peace. 3 days after the post went live, Celia posted her response. A carefully lit, tearful 7-minute video on Instagram. She started with, "There's always two sides to every story." Then, "I never meant to hurt my brother. I just didn't want drama at my wedding." And finally, "He's always had a hero complex. This wasn't about me. It was about him needing to be the center of attention." The comments told a different story. "You spent his money and then cut him out. That's not a misunderstanding. You made this about you. He just told the truth. You asked him to stay silent, and now you're upset that he didn't." Within 48 hours, she deleted the video. She made her profile private. A week later, Dad texted me. "Let's put this behind us. Family is more important than pride." I stared at the message for a long time. And then I did nothing. Because I finally understood, for them, family was about control. Silence. Compliance. For me, now, family would have to mean something else. I didn't respond to Dad's text. Not because I wanted to punish him. Not out of spite. I didn't respond because I had finally accepted what that message actually meant. It wasn't an invitation to heal. It was a request to forget. To reset the clock, as if nothing had happened. As if I hadn't been deliberately erased. As if my reaction to that erasure was the real betrayal, not the act itself. That's when I knew they hadn't learned anything. They were just waiting for me to fall back into place. I bought a new phone the next day. New number. New account. I didn't carry over any contacts except my boss, my landlord, and 2 close friends. Then I deactivated every shared family app. No more calendars. No more group chats. No more casual access. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I just didn't want to leave any windows open. Not this time. A week later, I moved. A smaller apartment. Fewer rooms. More light. No ghosts in the hallway. No memories taped to the fridge. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I didn't forward the address. I didn't leave a trail. It felt less like running and more like finally stopping. That same month, I launched a project I'd been quietly working on for over a year, a freelance digital strategy business. It was supposed to be a side hustle. But once the post went viral, inquiries started pouring in from people who had seen my story. Not out of pity. Out of resonance. They didn't want to work with me because I'd gone viral. They wanted to work with me because I'd made a clean break and survived. One afternoon, I walked by a small print shop near my new place. On impulse, I went in. I asked for a custom sign. Black background. Clean white serif font. Gloss laminate. When it was ready, I mounted it just outside my office door. It read, "Funded by the Forgotten." A quiet reminder of where I'd been. Not bitter. Just precise. Just true. 2 weeks later, I got an email from Marcus. The subject line was, "No expectations. Just thanks." The body read, "I didn't know. I thought you were overprotective, maybe jealous." That's what she told me. But you weren't trying to control her. You were trying to save her from herself. You didn't just save her wedding. You saved me from marrying someone who wasn't honest. I hope you're okay. I'm not asking anything from you. Just wanted to say thank you. I read it twice. Then archived it. Not because it didn't matter. Because it had already done its job. One night, I received a message from Aunt Marianne, the only relative who'd ever pulled me aside during family dinners and whispered, "You doing okay?" while handing me a plate. She said, "I just want you to know, some of us saw it. We just didn't know how to step in. Or if we were allowed to." It should have comforted me. But it didn't. Because what she really meant was, "We knew. But you were alone anyway. I didn't respond. But I took a screenshot and filed it in a folder labeled "Recognition is not equal to reconciliation." That's how I sort things now. A few weeks after the wedding I started writing again. Not long essays. Not think pieces. Just fragments. Reflections. I posted one to my new website, where I'd share updates about my business. It was titled, "Quiet Doesn't Mean Compliant." It ended with this: "Some people will only love you as long as you stay small. Some families will only praise you when you don't ask for anything in return. But dignity isn't selfish. Boundaries aren't betrayal. And walking away doesn't make you a villain, it makes you free." It wasn't for them. It was for me. And maybe for whoever needed to hear it. I thought I'd feel alone after all this. But what I felt instead was solitude, and the difference is profound. Solitude is chosen. And it gives you back something you don't realize you've lost until it returns. Yourself. It's been nearly 2 months. Since the barn. Since the slideshow. Since Marcus left his ring on the table like punctuation at the end of a story no one wanted to finish writing. And you know what? Nothing collapsed. The earth didn't open. The sky didn't fall. No one showed up at my door with torches or tears. They just stopped. No calls. No emails. Not even a birthday card. Which used to terrify me. Now. It feels like peace. I wake up at 7:14 every morning, like clockwork. Make my own coffee. Open the windows. Take 10 quiet minutes to look out at the street before the emails start. I used to spend that time wondering how I could do more, how I could carry them better, protect them harder, give without asking anything in return. Now, I use it to remember who I am. The business is growing. Not fast. Not viral. Just steady. I get emails from small business owners, nonprofit leaders, even freelancers like me. They say, "I saw your story. Thank you for showing what boundaries look like in real life. I didn't know I was allowed to say no until I read your post." Some of them book me. Some just write once. All of it matters. Not because it makes me feel powerful, but because it makes me feel real. Like I'm not invisible anymore, even to myself. Celia hasn't tried to contact me. Not directly. She left a comment on one of my business posts a few weeks ago. "Proud of you. Glad you're doing well." I deleted it. Not because I'm bitter. Because we're not rewriting history. We're not smoothing over the cracks with emojis. She had every chance to be real. To tell the truth. To invite me not just to the wedding, but into her life like I'd been inviting her into mine for decades. And she chose the story. The version where I was an obstacle, not a brother. So now, I choose the silence. Not out of anger. Out of self-respect. I got another message from Dad last week. This one was different. Less commanding. More tired. "I know we didn't handle things well. I know you were there more than we ever said. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." I haven't answered. Not because I don't hear him. Because I'm still deciding if I want to reopen the door. It's not about revenge. It's about recovery. And some things don't get rebuilt just because someone finally knocks. Yesterday, I walked past the mirror in my office. I stopped. Not because I looked good. Not because I looked different. But because I looked back. For the first time in a long time, I saw a whole person in that reflection. Not a servant. Not a role. Not the responsible one. Just me. Quiet. Clear. Still here. I updated the sign outside my door. The original read, "Funded by the Forgotten." It's still there. But beneath it, I added a second line. "Owned by the Reclaimed." Because this business? This piece? This version of myself? I earned it. Not by being perfect. But by finally refusing to be erased. So if you've made it this far, if you're still reading, still nodding, still wondering what to do with the silence left behind when you stop pleasing everyone but yourself, let me leave you with this. You are not broken for setting limits. You are not cruel for refusing to fund your own erasure. You are not a villain for deciding that your story matters, too. Burn the script they wrote for you. Then write your own. You don't need their seat at the table. You are the table. You are the structure. And when they ask how you did it, just smile. And tell them, I wasn't invited. But now, I own the venue. Thank you for watching the video. Like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.